All right, another question here. So Belegesa, or however you say that, is asking which are better, word or sentence cards? When people do spaced repetition systems, some strongly prefer word cards, so cards where you just see the word and you have to figure out what the word means, or sentence cards where you have a whole sentence and you have to remember what the sentence means. In our time with coaching, have we noticed any tendencies or characteristics in learners that tend to prefer one of these over the other? I don't think we've specifically tested this kind of thing, but
we haven't. But I've thought about it a lot, and Matt actually published a video about it a couple years back. There are these like really, really strong opinionated camps that fight with each other over whether word or sentence cards are better, as everything in language learning I've found. It's just like this
must fight.
Yeah. So what I would say is that generally sentence cards, you definitely want a sentence on your cards, whether it's on the front or the back, because the context that the sentence provides will provide more nuance to the word than you would otherwise have. So I would say it is important to have a sentence on the front or the back, regardless of which card type you choose. The problem with sentence cards that I personally encountered is that if I had the sentence on the front, then I would be able to understand the meaning of the word from the sentence. And so I would never get sentence cards wrong. There was no situation where I would look at it and be like, okay, I don't understand that because I've already learned this word. I know the definition, and I have all this context available to me. So how would I ever get a sentence card wrong?
I get them wrong all the time.
Oh, there you go. The advantage to that is that you pass a lot more cards, you do a lot less reviews. Anki is a lot easier. You can go through a lot more cards more quickly. And a lot of people really prefer that style of learning. For me personally, I found that even if I had a sentence with a word in it, I would not recognize that word outside of Anki, or I would not be able to know the meaning of the word in a different sentence. And so for me, I decided to go with vocabulary or word cards where I was forced to recall the meaning of the word outside of the context of the sentence, and then just have the sentence there to provide a little bit extra nuance. And that is much harder. I have to spend a lot longer thinking about the word and trying to remember it. But I find that I can recognize and understand the word more readily and easily when I see it in my immersion. So there are pros and cons to both of these. I don't think one is necessarily better than the other. I think that it is up to what you want to prioritize. If you want to prioritize doing more cards and having less reviews, then sentence cards is going to be the better approach because they are easier and you can understand things from context. If you find that sentence cards are not giving you the connection to the word that you actually need in order to see it and understand it in the real world in immersion, then I would recommend vocabulary cards. You also don't have to do like 100% of each one. Like you can convert between them. You can say like, oh, I'm going to do this many, or this card, I'm going to start with a sentence, and then if I can't remember it, then I'm going to switch it to a vocabulary card. It is.
You can always do that. You can hide it where you just see the word, then you add the sentence in if you want to need more context.
You can do that too.
I've been only doing sentence cards with my Czech learning, and I've been really actually quite enjoying it. Like you said, doing Anki is a bit easier. I definitely don't remember everything. There are still plenty of things because I try to pick sentences where that word is the key. So if I don't know that word, it's pretty difficult to figure out that sentence. Sometimes there's things around it, and I might focus on another word, that sort of thing. But I've shifted my focus because I'm really not thinking of Anki as being the place I'm learning the word. It's where I'm just getting more comfortable with it, a few more reps with it. But then in my intensive interactive immersion, that's really when I'm looking for it, right? There's a card that I just took so long to figure out. It was like vocal, having to do with the voice. And I just could not keep remembering it in Anki. But as soon as I started really noticing it more often in my interactive immersion, it became so much easier. And that is, to me, a really textbook example of why I'm enjoying this method, is because it's allowing me to really get into the words in my actual immersion material, rather than spending so much more extra time in Anki. That's all just extra bonus time with those words and that sort of repping stuff. Because the other issue I've come into is like, if a word has a bunch of definitions, right? Like the word to have in Czech also is like supposed to do something, like you should do something, I guess is what it would be.
Have to.
Yeah, have to. Oh yeah, sort of. But anyway, like that sort of thing, if it just comes up with meat, then I'm like, oh, that's to have. And it's like, but then the sentence on the back is, you should have done this, or you were supposed to do this. And I was like, I'd be just mad. But I'm like, oh, I knew that sort of, but I don't know. So I've been enjoying sentence cards because of the context specifically.
Yeah,
personally.
that exact problem that you described is something that is a downside of vocab cards. So 100% agree with that is a problem. So again, this is not a one is better than the other. It's that both have pros and cons, and you need to use the one that is more targeted at the challenge that you are specifically facing with that piece of information.